Welcome to Landmark Talks Property, a podcast by Landmark Information Group that covers all things property in short and intelligent podcasts.
Hello everybody and welcome to this edition of Landmark Talks Property. I'm Graeme Edwards, I'm the Managing Director of Landmark Valuation Services, and I have here with me today Lee Riche, who is our Commercial Director at Landmark's Optimus business. Lee, do you just want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about Optimus?
So in terms of Optimus, we're a conveyancing and survey panel manager. And in terms of myself, as you said, Commercial Director of Optimus. And just about to start my 19th year in the world of panel management as well.
19?
Yeah.
Wow. So what we're going to talk about today, there's a few things, I think, sort of scene setting, I guess, Lee. Just in terms of the market, we know that demand remains resilient in the market. Listings are strong and sold subject to contract are strong as well.
Yeah.
But we're not necessarily seeing that come through in terms of completions. So there's a lot of issues there, I think. And, you know, we've run a lot of market research with lenders and surveyors and general segments in the market. And what we're seeing, we believe, is that the focus really shouldn't now be on sort of like the sort of demand pieces of the jigsaw. The focus should really be on how do we remove friction from the transaction process and how do we make that process more streamlined with more certainty so we get more completions through the door and everybody's happy with that. So delays and fall throughs and that fragmented process that everybody's seeing across the transaction, they're the biggest barriers to growth. So we don't necessarily have a demand challenge anymore. We have a completion challenge. And I think the market is starting to recognize that and acknowledge, and especially I think now, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, Lee, with regards to the government reforms that have been published around the market reform, they aim to address more structural inefficiencies in the transaction process. And I think finally we're starting to see the industry really believe that better coordination between all stakeholders in the transaction process is absolutely essential to improving things moving forward. And when it comes to lenders and that side of the equation, we know that over the last few years, Lee, that lender conversations have often been dominated by regulation, market volatility, and affordability pressures. And those things are still obviously really important. But I think, and certainly the conversations that I've had with lenders, and I'd be interested in your view on this, is that they're now moving towards how they can be much more efficient, how they can reduce duplication in their processes, and how they can improve data confidence to deliver a much smoother customer experience. When I talk to lenders, they talk about something called the rocket mortgage, and that's the ability to get a mortgage offer out within 24 hours. So there's a much more clearer direction of travel with more upfront data needed in the transaction and more digitized workflows and better collaboration. And for lenders, that really matters because delays and friction don't actually sit in isolation. They affect customer confidence, they affect broker relationships, and we know about 80% of mortgage applications come through brokers. They affect completion timelines, and generally they affect operational risk as well. So better connected data and more efficient panel and valuation processes can help lenders make decisions with greater confidence and improve those timelines. So let's move on to our first sort of topic, if you like. Just thinking back to the market research that we did a few months ago, I think it was January, Lee, lenders told us their biggest priorities were faster transactions, better data, and smarter technologies. So now we're 6 months on from that research. Do you believe anything has changed?
I think the biggest thing that has changed is actually the government announcing their reform. Obviously, I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit deeper into the conversation. But that has been the one thing that's changed since January. Apart from that, I don't think too many things have probably changed in that time. One of the key aspects that you said there during kind of the roundup of where we are, and it all links into that customer experience now, and that is the one aspect that is changing. Over the last few years, we've had a lot of scope creep come into the world of conveyancing, and I think that's an education piece as well. I'm not sure entirely every lender, every broker, every estate agent kind of knows now what the conveyancer's job is, and that's unfortunately crept up in time. And again, we can go into those in more detail as well.
Yeah.
And then the last point of probably where it has been improving, I would say this year, since that research is collaboration within the market. I think, shall we say, there's people that are probably fed up with how long transactions are taking. If transactions take longer than what they used to, it actually decreases certainty of cases. Like you said, there's now an issue with completions.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's kind of created that perfect storm, really, of things taking longer, things have become less certain. And I think the industry's got together and gone, this isn't right anymore.
Yeah.
We need to be doing more, but not one singular company can do it by themselves. It has to be done in relation to others, knocking down kind of barriers and not maybe seeing companies that play in the same space as you as a competitor, but more of as a collaborator.
Yeah. I would agree, and I guess the only thing from my side is, you mentioned the words perfect storm. I think the 6 months on from January, the sort of the market context has changed a little bit as well, given the fact that we've had the US Iran conflict. We've seen swap rates go up. We've seen the market become a lot more competitive. It needs to be competitive in terms of interest rates and so on and so forth. And I think that is we're still operating in a very subdued market. So I think the idea that we're going to get probably legislated reforms through the government's publicised recommendations is all going to make things move in the right direction.
Definitely, yeah.
So Lee, on the top, I mean, we've got to talk about it, haven't we? On the topic of the sort of the housing reform, the recommendations publicised from the government. One of the biggest things, aside from sort of the agency piece and sort of mandated qualifications and things like that, one of the biggest things that is definitely going to impact our area of the business is this idea of mandated sales packs.
It's probably best that we do call it sales pack rather than maybe the home information pack.
Yes.
It does feel like an evolved pack from what that was for those of us that have been in the industry for a while. I do think it's the right step forward to improve that speed and certainty that I mentioned earlier. And certain things that are going to come through there is like the searches coming earlier into the pack. I know that Optimus was cited on the government paper at the end of last year as kind of that early search method as well. The fact that we have those searches earlier will hopefully mean that there's less inquiries coming up during the transaction. And we know that inquiries are one of the biggest issues when it comes to confidence in completions as well. And then one of the other key aspects is what's probably been brought forward is the property survey, which I know will affect,
the building condition survey.
Yeah, so I think, that's still probably up for debate and kind of how that's going to look.
Yeah.
That will be the biggest change.
Yeah.
I think that's going to come.
It's going to change the whole model, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it'd be interesting to kind of put a question back to you on this one. Is like the condition report now being done up front. We know that probably typically 1 in 4, 1 in 5 buyers has a survey right now. This will now mandate it that kind of every seller will need some form of report, regardless of how that looks.
Yeah.
So do you think from a surveyor or valuer perspective, have we actually got enough resource maybe within the market to cope with that?
Good question. I'll come on to surveyor because I think it's going to change the model in both areas, lending and surveying. So I'll come on to surveying. I think for lenders, I think it's going to be music to their ears.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely going to be a benefit to lenders and brokers for that matter. So, the idea of an upfront building condition survey that gives the broker or the lender a lot more information around sort of structural integrity of the property, the potential defects, things like roof condition, the construction of the building as well, and any risks associated with that property, things like flood risk and also insurability. They're all going to come out of the upfront condition survey. So for lenders, the reason why I say that's going to be music to their ears is because all of that information, if it's surfaced in the right way to them, it's going to enable them to make faster decisions.
Yeah.
It's also going to enable them to rely more heavily on automated valuations. And conversely, I think, and I'll come on to this, less heavily on a need for physical valuations as well.
Probably helps get back to that rocket mortgage that we're kind of talking about.
100%. 100%. This drives lenders in absolutely the right direction. It's also going to help with underwriting. So there'll be faster underwriting. And like you say, ultimately, a faster mortgage offer at the end of the day. I think on the surveyor side, this is where I think it's going to be interesting, because for them, their business model is going to need to change, as you rightly point out. And you mentioned it, maybe I think at best, actually, a quarter of buyers and sellers get a condition survey today. That is absolutely going to flip on its head. So from a surveying perspective, they're going to end up doing less physical valuations for lenders and a lot more home buyer surveys. And the question is going to be do they have the capacity? Do they have the right skills? Do they have the right skills in the right locations to be able to cater for that? Obviously, I can't answer that. But that's something that all surveying firms are going to have to consider. So I think the earlier everybody gets to grips with that, the better it's going to be for all. Let's move on. Something a little bit different. Let's talk about AI.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about AI. Is it overrated? Whatever. There's a lot of discussion about AI, definitely at the start of the year, and it definitely came out of the research that we did with lenders. I think one of the points from the research was 68% of lenders expect AI to improve their business processes and certainly their decision making. What's your view on AI, Lee, and how do you feel, what's your perspective on in terms of lenders adopting AI, what they're going to do with it?
Yeah, I think there was that initial excitement, shall we say, probably 12, 18 months ago. A lot of people using it in their personal lives as well as their kind of working lives as well. I think it has now settled and people are kind of now going, right, this is what it is. I've now learned what I can do, what I can't do, and it's now trying to apply those processes now. So looking at it from a lender side, and I can probably say this with what we're doing also within Optimus with AI is you're looking at those more menial tasks as well, the more administrative tasks that can be done. And it's not to say that that's going to replace people either. It just means that the people that you have will be doing more high value jobs as well.
That's right. And it's almost like that's like a sort of safe use of AI, isn't it? Like what sort of small menial tasks can I automate?
Yeah.
And then you can start to think about the bigger things that can be done as well.
Exactly. And I think you then get, as a business, if I'm a mortgage lender, I get my learnings from those as well.
Yeah.
So it's best to do it on those smaller kind of admin tasks. Learn what you can do there. It may take 20% away from, people's workload, which they can then use that 20% elsewhere. As I said, on those higher value tasks, it may be more interacting with customers more, because we said right at the beginning, it's about that customer experience and that customer journey. We know how much that's changed. I think we live in the Amazon kind of culture now, where you click a button, you're expecting something to come through.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? It's these AI chatbots and stuff. I actually listed something on eBay the other day, and I hadn't listed something on eBay for a while, but there's something I wanted to sell. I literally put the photographs into eBay. It recognized the photographs. It knew what it was. It created the title. It created the listing. And it actually gave me a recommended selling price as well. I mean, it literally took 10 seconds. And unbelievable. I was so impressed.
Yeah.
I sold it last night, by the way.
I think if you're looking at other examples as well, like from my personal life, that I think it can be applied to lenders and other kind of businesses around the industries. I've now got triaging on my own personal calls.
Have you?
So therefore, when people kind of call me, and look, we all know we get a lot of spam calls and so on and so forth, they now have to say who they are, why they're calling, for it to actually come through to me. So why can't lenders look at that kind of thing as well?
Absolutely.
For genuine...
Am I on that triage list?
Yeah. No, I think you're safe and you'll make it through there, Graeme. But yeah, I think from a lender's side, you'll also be able to deal with customers more efficiently, is what we said earlier, because there will be some queries that kind of come up from a customer, and actually a triaged phone call using AI will actually get that through. Customer may have a resolution within 2 or 3 minutes and actually has gone off from that call going, I'm actually really happy with the customer experience and the customer service I provided.
Yeah.
And then the triage can then go, hang on, this is a bit complex. That you actually need to speak to a person on this one as well.
Yeah.
So,
and this is how lenders are going to, in this market that we're in now, this is how lenders are going to win through service, service and speed and efficiency. The thing is, you know, weirdly enough, lenders are actually already using AI, especially in sort of underwriting sort of departments and things like that. They're using AI to do things like read bank statements, look at pay slips, you know, document screening, identifying missing information, and even identifying potential fraud upfront as well. So they're adopting AI on a practical basis now to look at how they can lower the operational cost of a mortgage offer or a loan. I think the question is how do they move that forward, you know, into the valuation process? The interesting thing about lenders is, and I think there's maybe a bit of caution here as well, because I don't think lenders will fully adopt AI in terms of like a human replacement, because when it comes to things like you know, governance, audit, auditability, and explainability as well, you know, those things I believe will still need like a human input, and especially on the underwriting side as well. So I think it's about how they streamline things and process things more efficiently up front, but then there's still going to be need for a human interaction.
Definitely. And I think the best way to kind of sum that up is that Microsoft's version of AI is called Copilot. It's there to help the user. It's not there to replace the person at all. So
yeah, absolutely. Interesting times, I think. We'll see how that goes. So we've talked about the market. We've talked about sort of you know, transaction efficiency. We've talked about the potential impact of government reform. Should we talk about collaboration?
Yeah.
Because this is an area, you know, where, let's be honest, I think we've had there's been some challenges in terms of, you know, how all of the parties in the transaction process collaborate, but also enable sharing of data and sort of trusting that data as well.
Yeah.
So this sort of collaboration piece. This was an area came out of the research, and you know, this was definitely one area where lenders were really aligned on the need for that sort of connection and collaboration when it comes to data. Do you feel like we're getting any closer to that? I mean, we've had we've had the Project 28 charter. We've now got the government reform. Do you feel that we're moving forward on that front?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the aspects I'm most infused by. You know, been in the industry a while, I think everyone typically works in their silos. And this is one of the first times, I know it's been tried before, but it just feels a bit different this time. I think that
feels like there's more impetus behind it, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I know I used the words kind of fed up earlier, and I think a lot of key people around the industry are just fed up, so they know they've got to work together. Obviously, I know you mentioned Project 28. I know there are kind of other groups trying to do exactly the same, which is great.
Optimus is signed up to Project 28.
Optimus is signed up to Project 28.
Let's have LVS.
Yeah, I just believe that is the best way forward. I mean, you look at it from, you know, there's a lot of the big lenders, including some of the big six that are signed up on that side, but it's not just that, it's the whole chain has to be working. So there's a lot of big estate agency groups signed up within there, so the likes of Yopa and Connells within there as well. You've got mortgage brokers and the likes of LNC and Mortgage Advice Bureau. You know, they're all critical kind of components to getting it right. So
you've got to walk the talk, though.
Exactly. Yeah, it can't just be a group that sits in a room. These are all great ideas. 6 months later, they all meet up again, and nothing's happened.
Exactly.
Something has to change on that side. And, you know, picking up on one of the bits there you said about kind of data sharing as well, and that's one of the aspects that I think the likes of Project 28 can do. So those that know me well, AMLs are my biggest bugbear when it comes to moving home. You have to get them done 4 or 5 times potentially.
Well, you've been through it, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's quite interesting that as buying a house, but I mean the average is probably somewhere around 15 years now. Every time that you move home, it completely changes. So
And that's because it's an absolute pain to do.
People get put off by it, don't they?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what we want to do. You look at other countries where it's maybe every 2-3 years, where the average is as well.
Yeah.
And you're going through this process and you're quite excited. You go to the agent kind of says, yeah, can I have your ID and your anti-money laundering? They do that shit. Okay, yeah, fine. Then the broker asks, and then you're like, okay, I think I've had this done, but okay, yeah, I'm still in that excited. And then by the time maybe a lender's asking for it, valuer could ask for it, and the conveyancer certainly asked for it. I think everyone's getting a bit fed up by that point of going, hang on, I've already done this before. Yeah. So therefore, being able to kind of get that one document, doesn't matter what document it is, and you use an AML in this example, and you can actually then share that in a trusted way, in a secure way, to all of the relevant parties within that. And I think that's the bit, if I was a lender, I'd be kind of sitting up and going, that's a bit more exciting than actually what we have now. And I believe that they're one of the action points that the likes of Project 28 will deliver.
Yeah. And that, I suppose that speaks as well to this idea of like everybody aligning to a data standard and data interoperability.
Exactly right. Being able to kind of share those that data across the relevant parties, and ultimately that'll also improve the customer experience, which we've kind of touched on a couple of times during this as well. Like that is the crucial part of it, and all of these aspects will improve the customer experience as well.
100%. I think Project 28, the sort of first port of call, I guess, it starts with like everybody aligning on like what are the issues, what are the challenges, and what could the potential solutions be. And a couple of the things that we've already mentioned, this idea of agreement on a single data standard, which doesn't exist today, and also data interoperability, so data that can be shared throughout the transaction and trusted by those parties, because that's not the case today, to your point. So trusted data, where's that data come from, what's its provenance, what are the sources of that data? And I guess it's like really well established companies which data is at their core, with trusted suppliers and so on and so forth, that are gonna do well in this new sort of market, as it were.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So, what about the future? Should we just look ahead for a couple of minutes? What areas do you think need to make the most progress this year? Transaction efficiency, data, or technology?
I think they're all probably interlinked. I think there's a lot of technology there, but I think it's making that data available and being able to share that data, I think, is the biggest aspect. And then you can kind of, once it's there available, then you can then go and build the technology around it.
Yeah.
But that to me is probably the key aspects over the next 6 to 12 months.
I think you're right. I think they all go hand in hand. I don't think you can separate any of those three things. I think for me, the future undoubtedly has to be positive. As I've said, we're in a difficult market at the moment. We've got fragmented process. I don't want to say the only way is up, but it undoubtedly has to be positive. Positive market reform, Project 28, all of that, and even areas, I guess, that we haven't touched on today. So the idea that estate agents are going to be regulated and now have to have mandatory qualifications. That's going to, the cream's going to rise to the top, isn't it? That's going to sort of sift out some of the chaff.
And I think they welcome it as well. I think there's been a bit of nervousness of how agents would actually kind of deal with this when it kind of comes through. But if you speak to a lot of the ones at the top, this is what they want as well. And as you said, the cream will rise to the top. So certainly on that side. So positive future. Operational efficiency, streamlining and automating processes, all part and parcel of that. Let's look ahead to the next 12 to 24 months. What do you think lenders, aside from what we've talked about, maybe, what do you think lenders should be looking ahead to in the next 12 to 24 months? I think what they should be looking at is the picking the right partners. There are lots of companies within the industry right now, but it's about selecting the right ones to be able to help them on all the things that we've actually been mentioning today, of like, who is that company that I can trust with sharing of the data and actually know where the source of that data is and can trust it and can use it on that transaction. That's what I think the focus should be on over that time in the next 12 to 24 months.
Okay, Lee, so that's great. Got a few final questions, and I've got a few sort of thoughts on these as well. So please fire them back at me. It's not one way. What's been the biggest surprise of 2026 so far?
From my view, it's actually been the collaboration side of it. As I mentioned earlier, I think we've been often too much in our silos as businesses working through, and we have to do this together. So the fact is there is more collaboration, I actually think has been a surprise. I think there's been a lot of talk about it over the years, but to see actually something happen is quite encouraging also from my side. What are your thoughts on that as well?
Well, I would agree. But when I looked at the brief for this podcast, I immediately thought the US-Iran war. that was the biggest surprise for me. Maybe it shouldn't have been a surprise, but clearly that's just added, additional challenges into the whole sort of perspective of the market that we're operating in. But yes, I would, when you bring it back to actually what we're doing and what we can control, the collaboration piece, looking ahead to the market reform and getting some of those things legislated through Parliament. I was surprised at how quickly that came, if I'm honest.
I think that was a surprise, the timeline of it. I think the aspect of it has been talked about for a while, so I don't think that was the surprising element, was it? It was probably more the timing side. And I know obviously it certainly came out when certain things were moving in politics as well.
Indeed, so, exactly. Sales packs, I believe that they're going to look to legislate those through Parliament. I think it's the third session next year, so I think that'll be June next year, which is less than 12 months away. So again, really that feels like it's going to go really quickly.
Definitely. I mean, 12 months in any industry, especially ours, is not a long amount of time. Most people have roadmaps, don't they, in terms of their IT for 6-12 months already.
Exactly.
So you've then got to start getting this into your kind of queues of what you can do to support that as well. So.
Yeah. What do you think will have the biggest impact on the mortgage market in the next 2 to 3 years?
I think it is going to have to be the government reform is what's going to have the biggest impact. It's what's been needed for a long time. When I joined the industry, I can remember talking to customers and brokers and saying, average 6 weeks to move in. It probably takes 6 weeks now just to get a file set up and welcome packs back and then the memorandum of sales in. So I think that is going to be the biggest change. I know we've referenced it a couple of times. It feels like an easy answer, but it does genuinely feel like that is the biggest aspect in the next 2 to 3 years.
I guess the one thing that maybe a risk is, obviously we've got a new Prime Minister. Is there a risk that the market reform might not go ahead?
Well, I think there's always a possibility until it's actually there and settled, then there could always be the risk. I think there's been a lot of talk that this will happen over the next 3 years. I think if my maths is correct, in 3 years' time, there will probably be a general election on that side of things as well. So, you've mentioned US politics, shall we say, but talking of UK politics, I don't think anyone can predict also what's going to happen on that side. So maybe referring back to my biggest surprise, having a new Prime Minister who wasn't even an MP at the start of the year is probably quite surprising.
Quite surprised as well, exactly. And I guess the thing about the market reform is it's, in the event of a general election in 3 years' time or whenever it's going to be, we know that the Conservatives and other political parties are backing this reform as well, which is fantastic. From my perspective, all of those things that you mentioned there, Lee, what will have the biggest impact? I think we do need a stronger economy, definitely. I think and it feels like this is starting to happen. So, easing the sort of cost of living and improving living standards for people, and just a general more stable geopolitical environment, I think we could all do with.
Stability,
stability,
the
exactly.
Key word out of that, isn't it?
Absolutely, stability. So that's going to have a big impact as well. Obviously, those are things that we can't control. We're talking about what we can control today. But yeah, I would agree with what you said there. And then what should lenders be preparing for now?
Change.
Good answer.
I know that's quite a broad topic, but change is coming when we look at the property market. So it's about gearing up for that. I reference kind of development queues and so on and so forth. Every business has those ones. So it's about kind of going, right, this is coming. What do I need to do with it, and how can we implement it, and who do we partner with to kind of support on that side? That's going to be the thing that they have to look at in that time period.
Yeah, change. Completely agree. And, embracing those new technologies in AI to make things more efficient, more streamlined and faster. I mean, we operate in a society of what I would call like immediacy, don't we? You can get anything through your phone within seconds.
Yeah.
You can order stuff and it arrives, it actually arrives with the following day. Like we've got this sort of immediacy sort of culture now in society, and I guess maybe it's a bit of a stretch, but when you think about that in the context of sort of mortgage offers and things like that, that's what people expect: speed.
Exactly, they expect that for the whole journey, and I think it's in the last few years, it's probably been the only industry that actually hasn't got quicker.
Yeah.
Everything that you do now, even if it's booking a holiday or something like that, it has got quicker than what it used to be.
Yeah.
Buying a house is probably the only one that's actually got slower.
Yeah.
And I think that also causes the frustrations with people as well.
Remember when you used to walk into a travel agent and open the brochure and sit at the desk and, oh my God. You're absolutely right. Fantastic. Great conversation. Really insightful, Lee. Appreciate your time this morning. And hopefully everybody enjoyed listening to or watching this podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Graeme.
Thank you for listening to Landmark Talks Property. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, please hit subscribe. This podcast is for general purposes only. The views expressed are those of the hosts and guests and do not constitute professional advice.